It must be summer. Tony's showing his head off.
Oh, mate, I just decided that the sun's out. I think the solar panel's out, mate. This is a solar panel for a love machine. That's what it is.
Guns out.
God Almighty!
Oh, look at that,
Chris, you've got your thing tilted to a point where you look like a Chad. It's like somebody's drawn you over the top of a wall.
Yeah,
mate. I reckon all those guns, mate, is all that Argentinian beef you've been scoffing.
Yeah, he injects. He actually injects Argentinian beef testicles into himself.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough of what goes on after the lights are down. The reason I've gathered you here, summoned you, my dear friends. Just check the bloody mic is working.
Is this like a 3-line whip?
Well, what the hell? They've just released some numbers. Is the best way I can announce it. And as ever with these things, just to reassure our viewers and our listeners that we are all economic experts. We were the people that trained Rachel Reeves to put her hat and coat and gloves on before she left the house. And then we got a certificate for that. So yeah, what do we know? What do we know about finance? Well, we can look at, I would suggest we can draw a few conclusions, which I think if we go through them and talk about them as we do it, it'll be less of a, and it will last, feel like it lasts for hours. So the big takeaways for me are stuff that hopefully a child would spot. UEFA prize money, being in the wrong competition, not earning the right amount of cash. So there's 10 million quid missing from the pie there, and then another 15 million down in the TV media. But this is the biggest thing, and I'm going to come on to some more relevant stuff on this sort of aspect. 25 million quid up on commercial revenue, and you know what that is? That's the filth. That's you go into the Spurs mega store or whatever they call it, and it's full of Guns N' Roses merch. This is all the money they make from selling, I don't know, Diwali pasties or whatever when they put a firework display on, or whatever it is that they do to fill their coffers. So generally speaking, total revenue is down about 20 million, but the operating profit from operations, as they call it, is up about 5. So you've got something that screams more than mutters, that the football is going down the way and the other stuff is going up the way. And I have to say, and people aren't going to be particularly like, oh, what do you know about it? But for a CEO to announce that and how many games are there to the final? 4 left, or I don't know. But if we were to win the UEFA League Championship, then it would be a fantastic finale to the end of the season. Yeah, I mean, we're in the studio at the moment. If we release the album and it becomes a smash hit and it sells platinum, we'll be the biggest band in Europe for whatever period of time. But the idea that a CEO would put down we'd like to, in his sort of summary statement is extraordinary. So what do you make of this then, guys? I mean, because they've also put the 9 fewer home games, which they haven't been specific about, but that's 9 fewer Champions League games. That's because we haven't played 9 fewer domestic Premier League games, so they're not being particularly transparent on stuff. But the thing that's really rung the bell for me, so like I say, simple terms, commercial revenues gently going up, football-related revenues gently going down, which shouldn't shock anybody. But the NFL deal, do you remember me whining on about that and about the slow turning circle? They already announced it back last year in 2023. But this is the killer. So this is our 10-year deal is up. And they've now expanded it to run across the 2029-2030 season. So they've given us one more season.
Those results just tell us what we've always thought amongst us, that the Tottenham brand is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and a more financial powerhouse. Tottenham Football Club is dead as we know it. So all of the additional revenue has been generated from off pitch activities. So from your Lady Gaga concerts, from your NFL, from your electric cars racing around underneath the stadium, and people walking on the annex of pain or whatever that death-defying
the altar of pain. The altar of pain, I think.
Where that's on the football pitch, we don't show any interest, and that's evidenced by the reduction in any prize money and not participating in the Champions League, although that's some seasons ago. The 9 less games. Who really cares about the Europa League or what's the other one? The one beneath the Europa that Chelsea are in.
The Europa Conference League. The Europa Conference.
Who actually cares? What footballing person cares about either of those competitions? You want to either be in it or not in it, and the only one to matter is Champions League.
Well, the money, just to say, the UEFA prize money, just to give you, for anybody saying, oh, but it's all Europe, it's all important. It simply isn't. June 2023, the money back there was, the European money back there was 56. Let me just make sure I got the line right on this. 50, just over 56 million. And this time around, it's 1.3 million. So the money that we're earning at the moment, if we don't win it, that changes significantly, but it won't become up worth 100 million. So nobody needs to get excited. But this is back in the box. But this is the sort of money that we could have obtained had we pursued one of the domestic cups.
Yep. And then
I think I would love to say something, but I think my dog is saying it all for me.
And I think perhaps more eloquently than any of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sausages, bollocks, sausages.
Leave you out. Leave you out.
Leave you out.
What is really telling in the statement, especially the chairman's statement, is basically the complete and utter lack of awareness about the fact that all the reason why we've had a challenging season, why we've had all this, lack of success, is down to the fact he's not done his job as a chairman of a football club.
Yeah, but takes the highest salary of any chairman in the Premiership.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go on.
Somebody on Facebook, when this was coming up today, actually denied it, said that's a load of rubbish. It's factual. It's in their freaking statement. It's in their accounts. It's in their accounts. It's a matter of public record. He's taken £6.5 million as a salary, made up of salary and bonuses, but that's still salary at the end of the day. It's a matter of record. So anybody who thinks he's not taking £6.5 million, he's not the highest paid chairman in the Premier League, wake up and smell the facts.
But you see, this is the problem with again, and why are you so miserable? People don't understand these things. They don't understand how a bookmaker's office works. They don't understand how a football club works, and they certainly don't understand how a business works. So you could be saying to whoever would be listening to you, well, I didn't take any dividends this month or this year or whatever. It's kind of like, that's fascinating, but what money are you on? What cash is going into your bank account every 30 days? And as you say there, because he's earning more than anybody else on the planet. So congratulations on not taking any dividends. But a shallow person might reply, well, why would you need to? Were you seeking to rival Elon Musk's wealth? Because that's at the tipping point that you'd need to do this. But this really concerns me, I have to say, because I know I've got a bee in my bonnet or a stone in my shoe, whatever you want to call it, about the NFL, because I don't enjoy the NFL. I'm not an NFL guy. I'm not the target audience for that. I was around the first time they tried to launch it in the UK, and it didn't work. So when I see all these idiots, and what do you want me to call them? I'm not going to say anything pleasant, but these clowns all chatting to each other wearing a different opponent's shirts because they're all mates from work going to see this game. It leaves me cold. I like to see Millwall fans on one train and Spurs fans on another, and preferably police on horses on the platform. on the London Underground. That's how I like my sporting occasions.
One of your favourite films must be Green Street or something like that. You know,
I think I perhaps watch more darker, violent underground stuff than those sort of cartoons. but no, I mean that to me is the reality of this country, or ought to be. But you've got this business where your entire business model, you've got a second pitch. You've got millions of pounds of Mark I technology. And that was another line I came out which people didn't care for. Mark I technology. I don't understand what you're talking about. Why can't you be happy? Mark I technology you've sunk your nuts into, and they've given you another year after your 10-year deal. I mean, and the official statement, just to add, Tony, because this is perhaps the cherry on the guano cake. The stadium return still reserves the official status of home of the NFL UK, and here's
that great big stinking turd. I've polished it for you.
Yeah. You should be able to see your face in this, so it's still warm.
Yeah, but what's really interesting in his statement as well, when I saw this, I kind of a wry smile, was we cannot spend what we do not have. And we will not continue to compromise the financial stability of the club. The fact that they've actually leveraged the club up to the hilt probably kind of contradicts that statement to some degree, but I know what he's driving at. Indeed, our off-pitch revenues have significantly supplemented the lower football revenues this year, testament to our diversified income strategy. Or in other words, football don't count for shit.
Yeah.
You know the kitchen burnt down in our restaurant. You'll be pleased to hear that because our restaurant has fantastic views of the panoramic views of the seaside, we're actually selling tickets to come outside the burning building and watch the red arrows fly past.
Yeah. Have a Mr. Whippy at the same time, you know.
Yeah, and we've been selling them ice creams, fezzes, whistles, hats, whatever you want, because we've diversified. The thing is that like I say, the football is in the lift going down, and everything else is going up. And the point that they skim over there, which I think is hilarious, and again, I think in less generous circumstances, like in a courtroom, somebody would say, "Yeah, you mentioned the 700 million you spent on players, but you didn't tell us how badly you spent it." Because this is a results. This is a results-driven business. And all this business of, we spent Dominic Solanke, Richarlison.
Tell us about the 170 million you spent on Richarlison, Brennan Johnson, and Solanke. How did that work out? What sort of success did that buy you?
You see, glossing over, and they always say the devil's in the detail, whereas with Levy, the devil's right in your face. And the business that we've spent a ton of money on junk,
so
and then
yourself for a summer of free transfers and out of contract signings without
you run into the same scenario that we've been here before, boys and girls, whereby if we have to sell to buy, who in the name of little baby Jesus and the weeping orphans is going to give us butt kiss for the junk that we've got on our books? Because any players that are any good, we can't afford to get rid of. And they're the only ones worth money. And the ones we desperately need to get shot off, nobody in their right mind's going to touch them. And that's the truth. That's the truth. So, all these beautiful cars in the showroom window, but everybody knows that the engines are missing, or, they don't come with a steering wheel.
Yeah. Well, it says we are, however, in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Europa League. Winning this would bring, what it says? It says winning this competition would see welcome silverware and mean qualification for the UEFA Champions League. Or in other words, have another watch.
With finalists, I mean, this is the equivalent of your CEO. This is the equivalent of your CEO saying, "Look, there's clearly a little bit of money. We're not really sure where it went, but I've got something better than money. This is a betting slip, and as you can see, if this trifecta of horses comes in, we'll have £10 billion." tremendous. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've done very well to progress as far as we have in this competition, even playing against sides that were 6, 7, 8, 9 to 1. But in the last game, which the 2 rounds, it was like watching a unqualified dentist pull a tooth. I have no gut feeling that we're going to win this competition.
So
this is the
they'll puff us up, they'll fluff us up a little bit.
They'll get the silk handkerchief and the feather duster out. That's as close. We're not at home to Mr. Floppy, but this is what we're looking at here. And like I said to you in the opening thing, going through the money, football goes down, commercial revenue goes up. Hang on a minute, why are those 2 separate entities in any business anyway? That doesn't make any sense to me, because this shouldn't be a shopping centre. It's not like ice cream sales are going up, but money brought in from rents on the place are going. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't be in a different category. But got this business where they're hoping that against all common sense, because again, if you don't understand how a bookmaker works, if Spurs are still favourites to win this competition, then that's clearly not been summarised, drawn up by people that understand football. Because I wouldn't put any of my money. I mean, the amount of times I like a bet, the amount of times I've told people not to bet on Spurs this season. Just don't do it.
Give it to lose. Bet them to lose.
Give your money. If you've got a £5 kicking around spare and you think to yourself, why don't I? What's the harm? Give it to a dog rescue. Rescue dogs love cash. They absolutely adore cash. And a £5 would make their day. Whereas you going in thinking that you're going to mysteriously rustle up 60 quid on the back of Tottenham doing something uncountable, something that just you can't imagine happening really, is just nuts. Just absolutely nuts.
But 700 million since 2019, allegedly. Well, it's not allegedly. It's certainly factual. It must be. Is 140 million per season.
Excuse
me. Tell me where we spent 140 million pounds worth of players, where we actually spent net spend of 140 million on anything resembling quality, like you've just said. There's no way you can link it together. There's no way you can link it together.
The question,
you're not taking the piss and being disrespectful of the loan fee we paid for the German lad.
I
hope you're not giving
Werner.
Yeah, good God.
Well, two cheeks of the same bottom, I would suggest there, gentlemen. But you see, this is what we're up against. And if this was like a Dragon's Den scenario, and you had this little bald schmuck, not you, Tony, I mean the Mr. Levy. You had the little bald, but you had this little bald schmuck saying 700 million on players. And the first thing that any investor, anybody in their right mind would say is, okay, 700 million, fantastic. Where's the value? Well, we've got Solanke over there holding up a card that says, price ticket swinging around his neck, saying 26 million, 60 whatever million. There's no value there.
Recruitment remains a key focus, and we must ensure that we make smart purchases within our financial means. How can you write that with a straight face?
Well, you know what the smart purchases are. We're back in Berchtesgaden. We're back in the bunker, and everybody's getting a brand new file of what was the thing? The arsenic poison.
Cyanide.
Yeah. Cyanide. Everybody's getting brand new state-of-the-art cyanide capsules. Honestly, that's what you're dealing with there.
Every bit you read of this is just like reality. Yeah, Johan Lang, quality purchase. That is a quality recruitment. That practice. That is, Chris, isn't it?
So listen. The other thing. I mean, I'm not sure we're going to get a full hour out of this because I mean we're just going to rotating, taking the piss out of the various sort of aspects. But let us not forget the other breaking news that the club's press people. Because that's the only people that speak to Matt Law from the Telegraph, told him that Paratici isn't coming. There's been no contact. Now, if I was the club, I would have handled it slightly differently and said, if he said, is Paratici coming? Because there's been a lot in the press recently from pretty unreliable sources in Italy and other places. I would have said, oh, that's a bloody, tell it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're working on that. That's like, something positive we can put out before the season tickets go on sale.
Except
it isn't really
because you've got to be careful about the whole constructive criticism, a dismissal type thing, haven't you? you've got somebody sitting in the job at the moment, subject to a contract. As much as we all think they're a pilchard and we want to see the back of them, there's ways that blue chip companies should operate. Whether they do or not remains to be seen.
No, absolutely. But this is a business, as we know, that doesn't really care and will just stick you on gardening leave.
They'll sack you halfway through a game, as poor old Martin Yole found his demise.
Well, is it oranges already? No. That's the exit door. That's the emergency door. We'd like to, and this is your stuff in a brown box.
Yeah.
Could be worse. We could support Yeovil Town, who now have free speeches now, apparently not a thing anymore.
Oh yeah, but
what
happened that because of the loss of revenue. The thought of
the chairman of Yeovil Town there's going around on Facebook and whatever, where there's a letter sent out to a fan because he criticised the chairman in quite, shall we say, strenuous tones. He's been sent a letter basically saying he's banned from the club. He's been banned from football for 2 years. He cannot go to anywhere near the club for 2 years because he said hurty words.
Was it as hurty as the feedback that Andrew's given by Spurs fans at Bournemouth away? Was it along those lines?
I don't know the nature, but I would suspect it's probably very similar. I would have thought. But dear old Mr. Chairman, dear old Mr. Snowflake has really taken it upon himself to basically screw his club over. And any form of goodwill that they had with the rest of football room as a whole, because literally everybody's come out and said, "What a twat! What an absolute arse bucket!" Honestly, and it's just straight. I suppose we don't have that. This
is straight out of the thick of it playbook, isn't it? You know, please tell him not to mention diarrhea again. What is this? I know it's Radio 4, but what is this? The shitting forecast. You know, it's just so massive incompetence on a grand scale that some bloke shouts out, which I find funny. I mean, certain things make me laugh because they remind us how futile we are as a species. So you think of all the stuff, the planning and manufacturing that goes into making a lamppost, the electricity that's in it, and it lights the road, and a seagull decides to just sit on it. Because he's picked a chip off the floor. It makes a mockery of the whole thing. And so you've got a football thing, 19 cameras, a multi-billion pound turnover, and somebody goes, "Fuck off, you fat fuck!" from block 78 behind you, and it deflates everything. And this clown decides to do the whole Achtung and send him out a missive saying you've not come into the stadium for 2 years. I mean, it's just insane.
It really is. It's unreal. There was a really great quote I read the other day, which is about how and certainly where you see some of the antisexuals as well, but that sort of applies to this guy. It says, "Arguing with idiots is like playing chess with a pigeon. No matter how good you are, they'll just knock over the pieces, shit on the board, and strut around like they won."
That's very good. That's very good.
I've saved that on my phone now because I'm going to refer to that quite a lot.
That's quite pertinent for a number of scenarios in everybody's life, isn't it?
I should refer to that as the pigeon strategy.
Yeah. Curiously enough, I played chess against a pigeon a couple of days ago. It reminded me of you. But and so the other thing I wanted to shoehorn into this cavalcade of chaos is the business of the carbon footprint champions of Europe, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, are now even outdoing the stupidity of playing West Ham in
Australia last year.
Australia, and we're now taking the magic and the madness to Hong Kong.
So it's ironic, isn't it, that the club haven't turned up for about 26 games this season, but all of a sudden they're expecting us all to follow them and turn up in Hong Kong on a Wednesday night to play the Arsenal.
At the Kai Tak Stadium, which used to be the airport at Kai Tak, which I flew in and out of when I lived there as a kid.
Is there elaborate trophy aligned to it, like the Daihatsu Cup or something like that, or are we still going to be hanging on to the glories?
Well, I think it's the Carbon Zero Cup, I would imagine. Because in the next couple of weeks they will drop something which they'll now put out at 10:30 in the evening to try and bury it. That we've done a deal with, a recycling firm to bring our footprint down. You know, it's just a mockery. It's a shambles dressed up as a mockery, trying to get away with it.
Well, we couldn't even get top billing on that, could we? It's Arsenal v Spurs. We couldn't even win the billing on that, could we? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Who actually gives a fuck about it? At the end of the season, a pre-season where everybody's on holiday, nobody cares. It's another game for the spectators and the tourists.
Well, the revenue streams there are just so aggressive as to, again, be beyond parody, because you've got the AIA thing, you've got the Sonny thing, who'll probably be wheeled on like the old boy out of Breaking Bad. You know, the guy that can only communicate with the bell, went ding ding ding. And so you've got those two things, and the whole sort of rah rah rah, you know, our overseas fan base. It is just utterly detached, and I described this as being very similar, and I know it's a sort of semi-fictional thing with Nero fiddling whilst Rome burned, but the similarities between Nero and Daniel Levy are not to be laughed at, not to be taken lightly. I mean, you have to bear in mind that, as with Nero, the foxes that broke into the stadium build were destroyed for their efforts, and he involved himself in some very nasty things with animals. I just don't know where this is heading, but it looks signposted very clearly that football is no longer much of a thing.
Football club over there.
Yeah, there used to be a football club over there, which apparently Birkinshaw didn't say, but it's such an apt phrase, he bloody well should have. But then that's somebody else who gets wheeled out once in a blue moon and given a bit of supper, which is a disgrace. The disgrace file for this operation, because it's not a football club anymore, it's a CEO masterclass in mediocrity, is just embarrassing. And was there something else? Oh yeah, I put on the Substack as well. They've done some serious archiving, because I haven't had any relationship with the club in a long time, because they've just endlessly annoyed me, and they've sent me a thing. Basically, they've dug out an old email address, and first of all, an email arrived from Ange saying that we were looking forward to the remainder of the season and building something for the future. So they haven't got anywhere trying to get rid of him yet. And then the second day something came, and they've put me on some fan base and sent me a thing with an image of a shirt with my surname on the back, which was quite ambitious. And I thought you couldn't actually order that stuff when you went to the shop, that forbidden words. But it had the name on the back of the shirt, and it said, don't forget to sign up and complete your profile with us. And they've dug out the dustbin, because I've not had anything to do with them in many a moon, and it just shows me how they're kind of the wagons are getting in a circle, because I think
Levy's bonus doesn't pay itself.
Use your email H for random submissions that I make.
Well, we do know you like to keep in touch on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
As if I can refer to a point I made in my eloquent notes to you last week that you didn't read. But no, it's just beggars belief. But is there any other business on this? Commercial operations, yo ho ho, football, boo hoo hoo, and a whole lot of other laughing stock.
Yeah, so what's our thoughts for Thursday night then? How badly we get pumped?
I know a Chelsea fan personally, drinks in my local, and I have to apologise to anybody within earshot when he just started laughing when I walked into the pub.
That's how seriously we're taking these.
He just saw me and started laughing. And then as he could begin to speak, he said something Thursday. I couldn't catch the rest, but he was just convulsing. But I was very rude to him, very rude. But yeah, so I'm not looking forward to this a little bit. And I've seen some very questionable things online in forums and message boards and stuff. And I'm talking about like places like Spurs community and Facebook, of course. And I say, well, you never know. Yeah, you never know. A donkey could fall out of the sky and kill you, and then your relatives come by and go, bloody hell, it's a pregnant donkey. What were the odds? It's just nuts, absolute nuts. You're inventing stuff which defies any inspection. So yeah, of course we're going to do really well against Chelsea. I would expect us. I don't know, but I mean, how he even survives towards the end of the season at this stage? What was it? 9 games we've got to go. I just don't see it. I certainly don't feel it, which is a comment I've come out with a number of times recently.
I think it's at the point where no one really cares anymore, do you? The emotions detached, the interests attached, and the excitement's attached, and we're all just hoping to get to the end of the season so we can brush ourselves down, get excited for a brief period of weeks, and then the usual negativity and cynicism and realism come back for next season.
You look at the fixtures we've got left. We've got Chelsea, then we've got Southampton, so we should win that.
Draw.
We should win that. Then you got Newcastle, you got Nottingham Forest, home to Nottingham Forest, lose. Away to Liverpool, definitely lose. Away to West Ham,
lose.
Possibly a draw, but home to Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace are ripping it up at the moment, and they're starting to get some real good form. Away to Aston Villa, and then home to Brighton. None of that gives you any confidence that we're going to be making any sort of dramatic last-minute surge up the table, does it?
So hang on. Are you calling Postecoglou a liar? Because I'm pretty sure he more than hinted the fact that he was going to get all his best players back, and he was going to have a reboot at mounting a charge on the that it wasn't out of the question to get back into Europe.
I would never address such disparaging remarks to our grand leader. I would leave that to ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
To such a worshipful member of the footballing fraternity.
His right honourable Antipodeanness.
His right honourable 5XLness. The man in the suit that he fell asleep in his car in has risen to speak.
There's just no call. You even in the darker times, as a drowning, as they say, a man potentially drowning looks for any small piece of wood to grab onto. I can't find any. I really can't. As far as and I'm going to say this right now, as far as our football team is concerned, because you've got to separate them from the rest of it, because we've got to find some way of just latching onto the fact that actually we still should be a football club, but we're not. And it's just so depressing looking at those fixtures. Eintracht Frankfurt doing well in Europe. They're doing well in the Bundesliga.
Andy Hock.
It's just wave the white flag now, shall we?
For your survival is over, Tommy. Honestly, I mean, you've got to laugh. Is that the police again? But you've got to laugh because, we're going to beat them, and then we're going to beat all these other now increasingly difficult teams, and we're going to win everything. I mean, that's great work from a CEO. That is just astonishing work. The numbers aren't great. The numbers aren't great, but and we know it was supposed to be an ice cream factory, but we're selling a lot of sausages out the back door. So I put the money in the salaries for the end of the month. I put them into this betting slip.
You're a bookmaker.
That's my strategy I've come up with.
You often refer to bookmakers, H, and the fact there's no such thing as a poor bookmaker, quite rightly
Correct.
so, as we
Correct.
know. What odds would you give of our esteemed manager still being in situ?
Having lost
the start of next season.
Yeah. I honestly think I'm not sure when the I think my thing's going. I honestly think when is the Europa League? When can we be out of the Europa League after Eintracht Frankfurt?
17th of April. That is on.
I think I would lay it on as even money, which means if you gave me a fiver, I'd give you a fiver back plus your stake, so you get you get a tenner in your pocket for your trouble. Even money is the money that you have on a really short horse race with an outright favourite that looks unlikely to be beaten, that he'll be out of a job before the end of the season. I cannot see the point because they're not going to get relegated. So, and as I said before, the risk of trying to sound like a philosopher, We know how poor Ryan Mason is, okay, and there's no two ways about it because we've seen him in action at this level before, but we don't know quite how dangerous Ange Postecoglou is. And we've had now 2 incidents of him having a square up, having a dance off. Having a dance off with members of the public. He's not good news. He's not good news.
Just a friend was at the Leyton Orient game last week, and he was in the director's box, and he got chatting to Donnelly's manager. Donnelly's manager also manages Mikey Moore, and he said Mikey Moore's doing everything to leave the club, completely down in the dumps. The way that he's been treated, he broke into the team, scored his goal in European football, was told he was then going to be on a high, getting plenty of minutes, and through nowhere, just got completely dumped out of the team.
Well, I think this is Ange. I think this is Ange through and through, and it's very much my way or the highway, which you'd hear me say on another day. And there he is, Brian Howard Clough. For those of you joining us late, great managers take stuff by the scruff of the neck, and they call decisions because they generally understand things. Hence the use of the word "great." Our fella is a buffoon.
Who detracts.
Great managers make great decisions.
Correct.
That's the key.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And this guy is very fond of playing the company card. I would imagine that Daniel Levy is really enjoying having this guy at the club, because despite the fact that he's not winning games, don't forget that Daniel Levy hates football anyway, despises football people. Ange is his perfect manager because he's not a football man. So you get a good performance, and that means the kid's been busting his pancreas in training, desperate to play, gets picked, scores a goal. We don't see him again because he needs to understand who's in charge here. And it's the same with the black chap whose name I can never remember, but you did, Tony, and you
was that Ajay? Was it?
Yeah.
Ajay?
Yeah.
Ajay?
That guy. Why haven't we seen something of him? Even if it was charity minutes, it's not funny anymore, this business. And the only reason we got to see Jed Spence, and he's been played out of position, was because of deficiencies, because of all the other toys that Ange managed to break, that were in his toy box. The guy doesn't know what he's doing. And I just think it's hilarious. Somebody on a Facebook group I was with earlier that last week, and they were saying, "Oh, why can't we? Oh, it's great. It's so refreshing. We've not had any naysayers on here for a while." And I just said to him, "Mate, you're out of your mind. He's the worst."
We haven't played for 3 weeks, so there's been no evidence to.
Well, that's what he was doing. What he was doing was this sort of narcissistic. I'll call everybody out who hasn't been saying hurty words that I don't like ordinarily, and I just said, "You're out of your mind. Worst points per game, worst social way that he conducts himself in interviews, and doesn't know how to pick a team, and nobody in their right mind wants to go, let's get behind him." All you're going to do if you get behind him is be in the shade. It's embarrassing. It is nothing shy of embarrassing. So there's my prediction as far as a bookie goes. I'd give you even money, which would put most people in their right mind putting a bet on that he won't be here at the end of the season, because they can stick Ryan Mason in, knowing full and well that he will just come out with all of the usual, party line stuff about it's a time for us to all come together, and we've got some great players in this squad, and we're not sure what we're going to do yet, but we want to do the right thing for the fans, and all that emptiness. And again, his product will be hope. Ange doesn't
look at the
sell
quality of all the backroom boys. Look at all that. Look at this. Look at this bench of backroom boys I've got behind me. Superb stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some clapped out bloke from Hibernian, and some clapped out bloke from somewhere else. It's sorrowful. It really is.
What do you think, Chris? Are you willing to put your money down on Spurs?
Come on, Chris. Let's see your pocket money. Come on, Tubby. Give us your trainers.
So I think we're going to get beaten 5-1 on Thursday night.
Yeah. I mean, it would if we do anything less, and this is the danger, of course, because we've now the fans in the coma at Spurs have slipped into this business whereby if we only lose by a goal, we did quite well. You know,
we won the second half.
Yeah, we won the second half. It was, you know, you can't be too down in the mouth. I mean, we were 4-0 up at half time. And then the ball changed shape and the grass went a different way.
I think would be a really good idea is if we did a crowd fund and just paid the interviewer after the game to say that's fairly typical performance, wasn't it, Ange? See what happens next. Bloody wait to start an interview, mate. What's going on there? You know, can you like that just one we pitched before? You know, I'd pay good money to see that. I'd pay good money to see that.
Well, the trouble is as well. You see, we've got a press room which are full of people who really ought to take money to ask questions because their questioning is so benign, so benign. I mean, I highlighted that Jack Pitt-Brooke article saying, you know, what do Spurs need to do? And they didn't mention he didn't mention Daniel Levy once. And he didn't mention how miserable, I mean, truly miserable, the results and the general vibe around the club has been. And he's discussing Thomas Frank and the guy at Bournemouth as if, you know, what I should do? I can't sell this house because it's falling to pieces and there's rats everywhere. I know, I'll paint it. What colour should I paint my house that's falling to pieces? It's got a gas leak and it's full of rats. No, mate, put the paint away. You need to do some serious back to basics work on this property. And painting it a nice, pretty colour isn't going to cut it.
It's like it's typical of all these journalists, though. None of them have got any originality. None of them have got remember what their core purpose is. It's to call people out and ask questions that the punters want to hear. Like, how many times do you hear Ange, after our latest defeat, acknowledge the media, and the first person he goes, okay, we'll take Ali Gold, we'll take the question from you. It's nauseating. You want to be sick. You know exactly what type of questions coming our way. You actually want somebody to stand, as Tony said, call it out and say, another shit performance, Ange. It's sort of how we play week in, week out at the moment. You're not raising the team. Do we do any training midweek? You want somebody to get in there and ask them the really uncomfortable questions.
And as I've said before, because a lot of fans can't cope with that direct approach and that threatening approach, you can do that without being rude. You can say to him, you said that after the last game. Can you tell us that you did something different with the team ahead of this game that we've also just lost? You know, you don't need to say, oi, fatty, ... But they're incapable of doing that. And the reason being, and I've covered it before, is because they're all on the bloody take. They're all about selling hope. You don't get clicks on a site like Football London unless you say Ange's strategy ahead of Chelsea, which could turn up the fortune for the Lily-Whites, because you're twisting something that he said, that he said that they were going to, I don't know, put Solanke and Richarlison together or whatever. He's got something. But they don't get the clicks because the clicks you only get are on a website like my old website used to be, where you used to say, so Levy's screwed us over for another decade. And people go there for the pain, go there for the heartache. But those websites that they all represent, they all work on positive material, gets clicks. And if you want to see that explained to you in baby language, look at the We Are Tottenham TV channel, where you've got two blokes who can't speak properly going, oh, I'm a game and nothing good with it. So I mean, the Spectrum brothers is where we're heading. That's the direction of travel. To two guys on the whatchamacallit, on the spectrum. That's what you're dealing with. That's where we're heading. They don't want journalists in there.
But I saw one the other day, which was the exact way to pose a question. And it was that guy, was it Richard Madelin? And he was on one of the Good Morning shows, and he was talking to Rachel Reeves about some free concert tickets that she'd been in receipt of recently. And he absolutely shut her up and made her look stupid. I know people might say that's not hard to do, but it was the eloquence and the framing of the question.
Yeah. And because you don't need to be rude. You just need to hit them with the facts.
Yeah. You're there for a purpose, and for your brand to be different from the rest, you want to stand out and you want to ask those honest, real life questions, not just go with the flow and be a patsy who grooms the ego of the manager and tells him how wonderful things are.
And Ange is the sort of person, given his nature, he'll buy it. He'll buy it real quick if you ask the right question.
Oh,
he'll
yeah.
absolutely buy it.
And performances have been shocking, and you can't really argue with that because we've lost 16 points in our last 22 games. A lot of people that I've been hearing in and around the stadium say that they're turning up the music so the boos can't be heard at the end of games. And some people are complaining the music is deafeningly loud. Do you have anything to say about that? Because where you are,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because where you are in the stadium is very near to me and in the press box and all the people that are saying this sort of stuff to me. I mean, he would bite. He would bite.
Ange, is it true that if we turn the happy clapping down in the stadium, that we'll hear everybody saying "fuck off, you fat cunt"?
And you don't have to travel to away games for that. We'll bring it for you right indoors.
We'll bring it right home.
Right indoors. Right home, baby. Right home.
N17 styling.
I've seen somebody do a little bit of analysis of these financial results, and this is a good one. The net transfer debt is 383 million. We have receivable in outstanding transfer debts from other clubs, 58 million, and we have got payable 441 million. So how can we owe 441 million and still have such a dog shit rubbish squad?
Yeah, yeah.
Payment terms.
But the thing is as well, and just to kind of loop back to that and what Tony was saying there, the fact that the chairman also disingenuinely says that we've spent X by a minute. I said, yeah, it's on rubbish players. But the fan base these days, I have to tell you, a little bit more educated. They're looking for some value and they're looking for some relevance in the shopping. They're not all about the price tag because it's only the real bottom feeders are saying, oh, I can't wait to see Richarlison cook on a radiator. I can't wait to see Solanke, whose career has never really started, cook on a match in a windy field.
Because you spend the heat. Sorry. Richarlison has the heat of a 10-watt low-energy bulb, doesn't he? Let's face it. It's just.
And can you stick a stick up the arsehole of a 10-watt energy bulb? That's the question. Because everything appears to annoy him.
You know that phrase "stick a fork in it, it's done." I mean, Richarlison will never be done because you can never generate enough heat to cook him because he's just so bloody useless. And
well,
the word not worth it.
The word you're looking for there, of course, is impervious, but that's possibly right now for this show.
I think that'll be on the late night special.
Fuck's sake. So, any more?
I think we could talk about loads of stuff, frankly, but I think a lot of it would just degenerate into stuff that's probably only going to be fit for like 11:30 watershed consumption.
You'll have to stream the rest of this on your OnlyFans site that you've got, H.
I know his OnlyFans site is he's broadcasting and flagellating himself with Tottenham Hotspur programs. That's probably what it is.
It's the working title for that is Match of the Opus Day. Boom. Hey! One for the dads there. Right, I'm going to let you go, folks, because that's what we have to do to all of the hostages at some point, as Mr. Trump has shown us. That's it for now. Good luck. Keep it Tottenham.